Hey, hope everyone is doing fantastic. Welcome back to The Money Cure, the podcast focused on taking you to new heights of prosperity, wealth, and cash flow from a spiritual perspective. I'm your host, Sean Robert Grant. So happy to have you all with me today, and really super excited because this podcast is kind of taken on more or less an evolution, if you would. I feel like when I started this, I knew a lot as it related to wealth building, had written a book and stuff, and was really excited just to talk about the things that I've used. And right then and there, when that unfolded, I shifted into a place that really helped me to figure out and understand financial manifestation, financial abundance, financial creation, all those things that we need in order to succeed here in our lives. And so it just became something that was like, it was so fulfilling. It was such a fulfilling experience. What's cool is, for me, the more I teach stuff, the more I learn. That's how I know teaching is one of my high value gifts, because as I'm teaching you, I'm learning more stuff for myself, and it becomes the most coolest thing you could ever even think of or possibly imagine, because, it's like you're getting immediately as you're giving, which is one of the key principles to prosperity, is understanding how to give and how to receive. But that's for another episode. Today, we're going to talk about your perception is your financial reality. And so you may have heard your perception is your reality before down the road to a degree, but this is something that, as I was meditating in my home the other day, I came to the realization of how dynamic and how important this is to us. And so, you think about your perception of your finances. What is it? And the truth of the matter is, it almost has absolutely nothing to do with the physical money you have in your wallet, the money you have in your bank account, or the investments or whatever it is that you have. But at the same time, it's sort of like remembering that money is energy. Wealth is energy first and foremost. And so how are you treating that energy? How are you interacting with that energy? Is it something that is abundant? Is it dynamic? Is it resourceful? Is it something that is immediately called into play when you call upon it? Can you manifest it easily? And so all of these are just perceptions as it relates to the idea that we are in a place, we're in a situation, not a situation, but we're in a time where we have to ensure that we understand, regardless of what anything looks like to you physically, you are in a sea of abundant resources. You are in a sea of abundant wealth. There is so much money flowing through just about every corner of this earth that there is no reason whatsoever to be broke, to be struggling, to not be realizing, your own true wealth. And so that's what this podcast is about. So when we think of perception, what is your perception as it relates to your finances right now? And so this is a really good question to ask and to stop, and really feel into, because, you want to figure out if there's a charge anywhere. What I mean by a charge is a potential emotional block. So we should get to a point to where every area we talk about our lives, we experience happiness. And I'm happy to say I finally am at that place. It took a long time, but I'm finally at that place as it relates to my finances. And so I, never really thought I would get to that point. But as I began to remove blocks and distorted perceptions and really like the magic comes when you start to like deal with your emotions from the standpoint of, okay, I really need to get this out of my body. I need to free it. I need to forgive it. I need to release it, whatever it is. That is when you find that you really start to open up to the abundance that's truly yours. But let's get back to perceptions. And so when you think about the perception you have on your finances, when you look at your bank account, whether there's $560 in there or $56,000 or $560,000, whatever it is, what do you feel? Now, initially, most people think if you're the one with $56,000 or $560,000, all of a sudden you feel at peace and you feel golden and you feel like you're sitting on top of the world. But sometimes the person with $560,000 in their accounts and the person with $560 are on two different wavelengths. And it's not what you think. You find the person with the six figures is under complete and utter duress because they're so afraid of losing it because their perception is, and it likely is just money come, money go, or you have to, work hard to make money. So that's a lot of money I've made. So if I lose it, I might have to work hard. It becomes a lot harder. This is why it's so important to deal with your financial junk before you step into having multiple huge sums of money, because if you're not ready from a conscious standpoint, like if you don't have that wealth conscious, if you're not in a position to where you have financial peace, I'll tell you something here, not to get off track, but my definition of financial freedom is not necessarily financial abundance, financial independence, financial freedom or anything like that. Those come with it. But the number one attribute you want to have, you desire to have, is financial peace around any amount of money that is in your possession. Okay? You want financial peace regardless, because a lot of times, once again, when it gets to be such a humongous number, if your consciousness is not there, if it's not leveled up to that amount of money, you can easily spiral into fear, spiral into stress. You don't think straight. And so the key to financial mastery is to really be in tune with your thoughts, is to really be in a place where you are just in control from the standpoint of you're being intelligent as it relates to your finances. You're making good decisions. You're not spending frivolously. You're consulting your higher guidance whenever you buy something, and you're circulating money as opposed to spending it. And that's a big one. If you hadn't heard that podcast yet, go back, because we talk a lot about the difference and how it can actually save you tons and tons of cash by using the word circulate as opposed to spend. But back to what I'm saying, perception is everything, because as Michael Bernard Beckwith said, we're experiencing our thoughts about reality, not necessarily our reality, right? I'll say that again. We're experiencing our thoughts about reality, not necessarily our reality, which means that if you see something you do not like, you can change it. You can go within and you can change it during meditation. You can change it during visualization, and you can open it up to be something new. Been the story of my life. The story of my life. This is why I'm doing this podcast, because I have so much to share on this. And I'm so excited that you're listening in and you have the exact same power, because we're all equal. You have the exact same power to really transform your life, not just in your finances, but in every area. Okay? So getting back to the idea of what type of charge or what type of emotion do you feel, if it's anything other than peace, happiness, or joy, and I'm talking about the kind that can resonate through your being and you feel relaxed, you got to change your perception. You have to change your perception. And the first thing you may be asking is, how do I change my perception? Well, it all comes back to understanding that we're only a mirror image of the source, of God, of the universe, but more importantly, of the God within us. And when we realize we're a mirror image, we are that thing, immediately we should snap into the idea that we are abundant. I'm going to tell you something. You came to this earth to be abundant. You came to this earth to be wealthy. You came to this earth to realize your passion, your sole purpose in whatever that is, whatever that may be. You came here with the idea and every resource you could possibly have to complete that. And within that comes more than enough money, more than enough wisdom, more than enough time, more than enough freedom, more than enough resources to do it to the very best of your ability, because that is your thing. And all I'm saying is basically you were created to be wealthy. You were created to experience wealth. You were created to experience joy. You were created to do work that doesn't feel like work, but feels more like fun because you're losing yourself in your creativity. And that's what it comes down to. That is what will shape our perception into understanding that, you know what? We are divine source. We are I am consciousness. We are divine consciousness, which says that in the mind of God, which is us, the God in us, there is no lack anywhere. Or better yet, a quote that I love to use is that there is no lack. No lack can exist in the mind of God. No lack can exist in the mind of God. So what that means, because everything is in the mind of God, everything is created by God. So if there is lack, that means you're thinking the wrong way. And if you're thinking the wrong way, you're experiencing life the wrong way. But when you move to righteousness, which is right thinking, and you understand, once again, there's no lack, only abundance in the mind of God, you shift your perception, and all of a sudden, everything else shifts in front of you. Getting back to the Michael Beckwith quote, you know, you're not experiencing reality, you're experiencing your thoughts about reality. And once you're at that place, then you determine, you don't determine, but you know you're in charge. You're in control of this. Yes, you can't always control circumstances, but you can control your thoughts. You can control your feelings. You can control your emotions. You can control the way you imagine. You can control your actions. And all these things dictate how financially prosperous you become, because it is all in your perception first. It's a mind game. It's about conjoining the mind and the heart together, but allowing the mind to see things as the heart sees them, because the heart is infinite. The heart expands and continues to expand. So we always have to be in our hearts as it relates to everything, especially if we want it to prosper. So it's up to us to connect with that heart first and allow that heart's perspective to flow to the mind and to help the mind to see absolutely nothing but abundance. One of my favorite exercises to do whenever I feel like I need a shift financially. So I'll give you a story and then I'll head out. I can remember I manifested the same type of income 3 years in a row. I manifested the same or near the same income. And I got to a point where I was just like, okay, there's something happening here. There's something that's stopping me from elevating my cash flow to another level. And so I began to meditate, begin to dive deep, do introspection, quiet time by myself. And I started to realize that my perception of myself to be able to have the capacity to make more cash was hindered. And here's why. Because I had never made that amount of money before in my life in the past, the goal that I was shooting for, my mind was so caught up in thinking that I would never be able to do it because I hadn't done it before. See, the mind only works in what it can see. The heart is infinite. So I had to connect to my heart. And I asked my heart, what does my heart feel like is possible for me from a financial standpoint? And once I connected to my heart just basically said, you can have whatever you want. You can have whatever you desire. All you got to do is formulate the consciousness to bring it in. And I'm like, formulate, what does that mean? It's like visualize it. See it. See yourself. So I tell you what I started to do. I did two things. Every night for 30 minutes, I wrote down, I am financially prosperous, abundant, and have all of my needs met and desired. All of my needs and desires met. So I am financially prosperous, abundant, and I have all of my needs and desires met. And so I wrote that down for 30 minutes for like a month. And what it did was it shifted my mind into a place of my heart. And in doing so, all of a sudden I became open and receptive to a multitude of ways to allow money into my life. Notice I didn't say attract. I said allow, because see, money wants to come to you. You're an electromagnetic field, and money is a magnetic energy that wants to come to you. So if it's being held back, something is off. Something is not right. And in most cases, almost all cases, it's the perception that throws you off from having that constant financial flow. So the second thing I did after I wrote the affirmation for 30 minutes each day, like I got into that consciousness, right? I got deep into that consciousness, and I was able to open myself up to new opportunities and attract new opportunities. Well, allow new opportunities. And then from there, the second thing I did, which is an absolute life changer, the second thing that I was able to do from that point on was I was able to take action. I was able to take action on what I believe to be true. And this is called faith, right? So I was so assured of my newfound consciousness that had planted the seed within my subconscious that I could now begin to take action. And so it wasn't anything like I was giving anything out, but this was like, I can remember I started paying my bills, paying my mortgage, paying my rent, paying my phone bill, and some other stuff, with my wife and all. And I was feeling so much joy as I was doing it. I was feeling so much joy because I no longer saw bills as an issue. Because of my new consciousness, I could see bills as something that was offering me value that I needed in my life. Like I needed my internet. I needed my car. I needed, groceries. I needed all these things. So for the longest time, I was so hell-bent on just, I'm so mad I got to give away my money to you. But in actuality, it's an exchange. Circulation is what money comes down to. So once I fixed that perception that I didn't want to give my money out to these people, I'm happy to circulate these bills. I'm happy to use this money to pay these bills because what I'm getting in return is absolutely wonderful. And also what I did is I always said that the money that I circulated out would return to me multiplied. And that's exactly what it did. It came back to me multiplied, and I began to realize I had more and more money. And not only that, but the money I had stretched even longer. And it was one of the most amazing experiences to this day. It still is, to be able to feel that, especially coming from a place where I had a perception of complete and utter fear. Okay? So before I go, run out of time here, but before I go, I just want to let you know, if things aren't the way you feel like they should be, fix your thoughts. Fix your thoughts, okay? Like, think about, ask for guidance, ask your subconscious mind, what do I need to do in order to prosper to this level? Right? And when it gives you the answer, act on it immediately without hesitation. And just know that everything is set up for you to win. The universe is set up for you to win. It wants you to win. Once again, remember, you're an electromagnetic field. Money is a magnetic energy. It wants to come to you. But you have to be in the right frame of mind, the right consciousness to rake it in like you're supposed to. Keep your thoughts fixated on prosperity, because they will determine your financial reality. That will determine your perception. That determines your financial reality. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been awesome. As always, I will definitely talk to you soon. Take care.